Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Stay Healthy at Home webinar series. Thank you for being here this afternoon. This is a weekly webinar series hosted by the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project, which is a program of the ARC of New Jersey. My name is Ashley Ritchie, and I'm the director of the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project. So again, thank you all for being here. We are joined today by a fantastic guest speaker. His name is Wesley Anderson. And Wesley is the Director of Training and Consultation Services at the ARC of New Jersey, where he provides technical assistance and customized workshops to supported employment agencies and schools throughout the state. A certified practitioner of the teaching family model and traumatic brain injury specialist, Wesley has been providing supports to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities for over 10 years. He started his career in special education and later supported employment as an employment specialist and job developer. A proven networker, Wesley was appointed by the Chamber of Commerce Southern New Jersey to their ambassador committee. And in his current role, Wesley also sits on the National Board of Directors for APSE, the Association for Professionals Supporting Employment First, and chairs its Professional Development Committee. So again, thank you, Wesley, so much for being here.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Welcome, everybody. So today we are going to talk about how to find a job or what makes finding a job difficult. So before we get started, this is not going to be one of those times where everybody gets to sit back. I enjoy hearing from everyone. So I'm going to start with a bit of a question. What makes a good job? What makes a job good? Feeling a sense of responsibility. What else? Getting paid. That is not a that is a definitely a necessity. What else? And also feel free to if you need to, actually, I'm not sure if you're able to, people are able to unmute, but people who make a difference working with a dedicated team and environment. Oops. All right. If you had to get rid of one of those things, what would you get rid of? I'll add one more that Ashley mentioned, a team. I can allow to talk on attendees. Okay, awesome. Yeah, if anybody feels like they need to talk, if that'd be easier for them to communicate, let me know and I can allow you to talk using technology, which is awesome. So if you had to get rid of one of these 4 things that we said make up an awesome job. All right, Adam, you are good. I see your hand up. You can mute.
Hi.
Hi, Adam.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. If you had to get rid of one of these 4 things, if you had to sacrifice one of them, which one would you sacrifice?
Tip.
The team?
Tip.
Yeah. So maybe a job that requires you to work by yourself instead of working with other people. How about if I add another one? Location.
Backer.
Which one would you get rid of? This job has good responsibilities, good pay, a nice environment. It's really close to your house, but you got to sacrifice one of them. And if anybody else also wants to answer, the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen will signal to me that you want to say something.
Hard work.
Hard work. Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that's really difficult when it comes to finding a job or even knowing where to start is you have to determine what's most important to you out of a job in general. For some people, the pay is not that important. For some people, the pay is as long as it's above minimum wage, which is what defines work, they don't need to make a whole lot of money. Maybe some people want a job that is not going to be super stressful. Or some people want a job that is close to home. That's the most important thing. Whatever that is, my first tip, which is what we're going to be doing today, going over some tips and strategies to make searching and finding a job less of a random thing and more of a process that you can learn and get really good at. It's going to be really important. The first thing is to decide what matters to you in a job. Is it the sense of community? Is it a beautiful location or really friendly people? Because what you're going to find is in any job, it doesn't matter how amazing the job is, there's always going to be something that could be a little bit better. There's always going to be something that you could always make a little bit more money, or it could always be closer to home. And being okay with not getting absolutely everything that you need, that you want, but making sure you get everything you need is really, 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 really important when you start out. I was an employment specialist, a job coach for many years, as Ashley said. My job was to go and help individuals with disabilities find employment. And there were so many times where we would have found a job that on paper matched exactly what the individual was looking for. But for whatever reason, they decided not to go for the job or thought that the job wasn't a good fit. And that is, of course, everybody's individual choice, but you want to make sure that it's based on some type of reason. So my second question is, why is it so hard to find a job? Why is it so difficult? And I'm looking at the chat. Why is it so hard to find a job? Some folks underestimate their skills. Absolutely right. A lot of the times we feel like unless it says specifically Wesley Anderson applied to this job, we think it's probably not for me. I probably don't qualify for that. Celia, too many applicants. That's a big reason. Saturated job market, or some people are overqualified. over or under qualified. Eileen, not having an idea of what you want to do. Absolutely. So out of these four things so far, look for a new job, go to see manager. Adam, that's an excellent tip for finding a job. It's one of the biggest tips about networking, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Thank you very much for mentioning that. As I look in the chat, feel free to continue if you have other things you want to add to this question. But just looking at these four so far, having people who are over or underqualified, not having confidence in your skills, too many people looking at the same time, or not being sure what you want to do. Let's look at these four. Which of these four, or how many of these four can you control? Can you do something about? Can we do something about there being a lot of people looking for jobs? Correct. Yeah. No, that's out of our control. We can't do anything about that. We can't do anything about whether or not other people are over or underqualified. But we can do something about being sure of what we want to do. We can do something about our confidence. And we can do something about how qualified we are. So when we search for a job, or really when we try to do anything, we want to really narrow down. There are a lot of things that can frustrate us and be stressful, but we want to focus on the things that we can control. And when we're looking for a job, when you are trying to get into work, which is something I think everybody should be looking into to see what they can do, what works for them. Try to narrow it down to the things that you can control. You can control who you talk to. You can control what areas you search in, but you can't control how many people are looking. You can't control what jobs are available. And reminding yourself of that is something that's going to be really key, because you want to avoid getting too frustrated while you're searching for a job. And with that being said, I want to start by giving a couple of tips on how to go about looking. The first step is organize. Some people use a phone, some people use a planner, but my first recommendation is to take a calendar, a blank calendar. It doesn't even need to be for a large period of time. You're going to take a blank calendar, and let's just say that this is my calendar. And every single time you apply to a job or you talk to someone in a job, you're going to write down the day and what job it was in your calendar. So if I apply to, Adam mentioned a restaurant. My favorite restaurant is Fridays because I used to work there. So I applied to Fridays on September 15th. And every single time I apply to a job, I'm going to mark it in my calendar. That's it. That's the first big tip. And we'll get into why this is going to be the many reasons why this is so amazing, but you would be surprised how many people apply to a lot of jobs, and then they forget what they applied for. They forget who they talked to. They forget how long they talked to the person. So the first big tip is whatever way you use a calendar, whether or not it's in an electronic device, or there are free calendars that you can print out online. Just keep it with you. And when you apply to a job, when you talk to somebody about a job, put it on the calendar on that date. That's my first big tip. Does that make sense, everybody? The next tip when it comes to organizing is try to look for certain jobs on certain days. Try to, if you're looking for a restaurant job and maybe a food service job, or if you're looking for something more artistic, try to do that search on the same day each week. That way you don't get burnt out. Maybe devote every Monday to sitting down and looking for a new job for an hour or two. And that way it'll make it even easier to use your calendar because you'll know exactly what day you're supposed to be putting things in your calendar. So that's tip number one. Tip number two. And by the way, if you do have any questions about these as I go through, please don't hesitate to write them in the chat. I love questions. Tip number two is network. And here's a little factoid. About 85% of people didn't find their jobs through searching online. They found their jobs through people that they know. And that's a big deal. So before you even start opening up a web browser, opening up Google and typing in best job ever, look at who you know and ask them, hey, do you know anybody that's hiring? Do you know any good places that I should look? And you would be surprised how successful that could be. I got this job from somebody that I knew. At least I got recommended for it. I had been going to trainings a lot. I like to learn. And one of the people doing the training used to have this job. And when they were moving on, because I had been keeping contact with them, they reached out to me and said, I think you should apply. And that is a really fantastic way to build connections. Just be present in people's lives, ask them how they're doing. And when something comes up, or if you are looking for something, don't be too shy to reach out to them. Adam, you have a job at ShopRite. Adam, how did you find your job at ShopRite?
Hours.
What was that?
4 hours. 9 and 1.
Oh, is that your schedule?
Yes.
Nice. That's pretty awesome. I never worked at ShopRite, but I did work at Acme when I was younger, and I really liked that job. So any questions about networking? If you had to, in the chat, I just want you, oh, okay, Eileen wants to say something, hold on. Eileen, I have a couple of names, so I'm just gonna oh. It's like I cannot. Unfortunately, it says that the version of Zoom that you're using isn't up to date enough for me to turn on your talk, Eileen. I'm very sorry about that. But if you do have something to say, please type it in the chat. And everybody, I want you all to just type in the chat. If you had to find a job right now, who's the person that you would ask to network? You're going to ask this person, hey, do you know if anybody's hiring? Who is that person for you? You ask the boss. Yeah, that's the direct approach. So if you had to find someone in your life or somebody that you know, not doesn't have to be somebody at a that you want to hire you, but like I might ask my mom, hey, mom, do you know if anybody's hiring in the area? Or, hey, to my cousin or to my neighbor. Who's that person that you would ask if they knew somebody was hiring? Your friends? Yep. Manager. I would ask Ashley Ritchie. I would go and ask Ashley Ritchie if she knew if anybody was hiring. And that's the idea. You want to write down a specific name, and you don't have to write it in the chat, but on your own, write down the names of some people who you think might be able to help you find a job, who might know. And that is tip number 2, network. It's something that you're going to do all the time. And you'd be amazed at how many great friends you can make along the way. You would ask John. That's exactly the awesome, Adam. If you can name the person that you would ask, then when you do start to look, it's super easy to just look at this list and say, today I'm going to go ask John if there's anybody hiring. That's awesome. All right, my next tip number 3, are tips on searching. The biggest tip I could give you when it comes to searching for a job, actually doing the search, is do not just look at one place. There are a ton of websites that post job searches. You have Indeed is one. Career Builder, Snag a Job, etc., etc. There are tons of places for you to look at. If you just type in on Google, a regular Google search is a great way to start. But wherever you look, you might be disappointed if you don't find exactly what you're looking for if I just use Indeed. So if I'm looking, I'm going to look in multiple places. I'm going to search for, if I'm looking for a security guard job, I'm going to search at Indeed, I'm going to search at Career Builder, and I'm going to search Snag a Job at the very least. That way I get a really good picture of what's actually out there. So an example of what a job posting would look like if I just used Microsoft Bing and I was searching for security guard jobs, a bunch of them will come up. And it's then up to me to see if any of these are in the right area. And I can even add on. So I want to search for a security guard job in Philadelphia, let's just say. And now I can see all of the security guard jobs from this website in Philadelphia. And I can click on them and see what they look like. But the mistake is just stopping here. You want to do the same thing at multiple websites. And tip number 4 is research. How much money should a job as a race car driver make? How much money should a race car driver make? How much money should a race car driver? $10? Are they winning races? They haven't even raced yet. They just got hired to drive cars really fast, but they haven't gotten hired yet. I mean, they haven't raced yet. How much money should they make? Well, there is a way to try to find out. It's a website called Glassdoor, and I'm going to put that in the chat in a second. And basically, what you're going to do is you go to this website and you type in a job, and it tells you around about how much money you should expect to make. Oops. We're going to focus right here. So if I wanted to work at FedEx, it would say I should expect to make around $20 per hour if I had this job, warehouse package manager. So this is a really, really good resource to try to find how much money you can expect to make, because a lot of the times companies don't want to put that online. They don't want to tell you how much money you would make. So if you go to a website like that and you type in the type of job you're interested in, maybe it's customer service. Maybe you'd like to work at Wawa, but you don't know how much money you would make there. Go to this website and type it in, and you'll see from employees of Wawa. That's who use this website. Employees that currently work or did work at Wawa, they fill in a form so that other people can have an easier time. And again, if you do find something, make sure you put it on your calendar. Number 5 is your resume. What is a resume? What is a resume? A summary of your qualifications or experience. That is absolutely 100% perfectly right. It is a summary of what makes you awesome as far as work is concerned. So let's take an example. If you were applying to work at a restaurant, what kinds of things might you want to put on your resume? What kinds of things might you want to put on your resume? If you have good customer service skills, fantastic. Yes. As simple as an excellent customer service might be something that you put on your resume. And it will be different if you were applying for a job as a race car driver. Would excellent customer service really matter if you were applying for a race car driver? Not really. So depending on what job you're looking for, you want to try to find things that are great about you that would make a good fit for that particular job. If we go back to some of the things that we said make job searching difficult before, we talked about confidence. That's a way to help improve that. Just know that because you've been living your life, you have, even if you've never had a job before, you do have skills and you do have qualifications to make you a great employee. Even if you've never had a job before, just getting this far in life means you're already awesome and you have the ability to find a job, and you should be confident. And writing a resume is something that helps build that confidence. The great part about it is you don't have to do it alone. There are individuals like what I used to do called job coaches who are there just to help you do things like that. They're there to help you organize your job search. They're there to help build your confidence by helping you write your resume. So if you do want more information about supported employment and how it can help you, either put it in the chat, find Ashley afterwards, or find me afterwards, because I would love to talk to you about it. And it's free. So your resume, you're going to write this resume and you're going to make sure that it is specific to whatever job you're looking for. Now I'm just going to copy and paste a part of this posting. This was again a posting for a security guard position. So right here, this is what the job says they're looking for. And let's focus on this part. Displays excellent exceptional customer service and communication skills. Well, it looks like we already have something that might make this a good fit. We have excellent customer service skills. Well, are we able to lift and carry a certain amount of weight? If that's not something that you want to do, then as you look through this, you might say, well, I can do these things, but this thing is not really for me. I don't want to do this job. And you go to find something else that fits more with your skills. That's why it's so important to start writing down what you're good at. So that's my next challenge for everybody. Write down what you're good at. What makes you awesome? Some people might write down computer skills, or my sister would write down that she's able to talk on the phone forever and not get tired. That's a skill. But what would you write down? Adam wrote down that he can cook food. That's a great skill. I can't wait to see this. What skills do we have, everybody? Listening skills. That's a fantastic one. Cooking skills. Awesome. What else? Is anybody good with computers? Writing skills. Starting to look like a good list. What else? Yeah, I got chef skills, cooking skills. Yeah. I'll add chef to it. That way I make sure I'm getting the right feedback. Is anybody good with computers? Is anybody good at reading or keeping calm? That's a skill too. Keeping calm is a really big skill. Cooking class skills. So let's add some of mine. I'm good at using technology. Problem solving. So already we have the start of a pretty good resume. Even if you've never had a job before, writing down your skill sets, that is really what a resume is for. And that wasn't very difficult at all. So take a little time after this webinar, take a little bit of time just to sit with yourself or sit with somebody that you trust and write down. You can ask them as well, what am I good at? And just write them all down. You would be amazed at how many things you end up coming up with. And it doesn't have to be big things. Folding clothes. Doing the dishes. How about right now, what everybody's doing right now, using Zoom. This is a huge one nowadays. And everybody on this call is doing it. So already you have one of the most in-demand skills. One of the things that employers are looking for the most, if people are able to use Zoom, and everybody on this call can, because we're doing it right now. So our last couple. Once you have written down some of these skills, you're going to choose, based on the job you're looking for, which of these skills, how many of these do we think are relevant? So how many of them matter for the job that we're looking for? If you want to work at Chick-fil-A, for instance, then we might use excellent customer service, cooking skills, listening skills, doing the dishes, problem solving, and depending on what you do at Chick-fil-A, we might also use using technology. So for a job at Chick-fil-A, just based off of what you all wrote, this is a pretty good list for what you would need to work at Chick-fil-A. And that's just an example. Now, are there any questions so far? And I like to give a second for people to have time to type and know that I'm not trying to rush anyone. So I'll give everybody a second. Oh, cleaning tables and chairs. That's an excellent one, Adam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our last tip, oopsie doopsie. Our last tip is about following up. And remember in the beginning, I told everybody to have that calendar and that it would really help you. Well, this is how. Let's say that I apply at Chick-fil-A on a Wednesday. Oops, it disappeared. Okay, I apply at Chick-fil-A on a Wednesday. Here's an insider tip. Normally, when you apply for a job, you want to follow up with the employer at some point to say, hey, I wanted to see if there was still interest, if the position was still open, and if you're still collecting resumes or scheduling interviews. Sometimes you just want to check and make sure that they got it. So the best practice is the term we use, the time that you should typically wait before reaching out to an employer. This includes after you've interviewed, is about a week. So if I have applied on Wednesday, and here's a pop quiz question. If I applied to Chick-fil-A on Wednesday, what day should I follow up? I applied on Wednesday, and you should wait about a week before you reach out. When should I follow up? What day? in the morning. That's actually a really good point, Adam. Typically, you want to follow up. You don't want to wait till the late afternoon. You want to do it first thing in the morning or around lunchtime. So that's a very good point. But let's focus on which day, and I'll narrow it down for you. It's going to be one of these 5 days. You're going to follow up the next week in one of these days, either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. And you should wait about a week. So is it going to be Friday? No, Friday's out. Friday's too long. What about Monday? No, that's too soon. You've only waited the 2 days. So what you're going to do is you're going to wait and you're going to apply the very next Wednesday. You're just going to go down one box. So if I applied at Chick-fil-A on Wednesday, I'm going to call Chick-fil-A the next Wednesday. And I don't have to wait. I can just do that as soon as I write down that I've applied. I'm also going to write down, I'm going to follow up next Wednesday. And that is, without a doubt, the number one strategy that I can give you to keep your job search organized and to keep it from getting crazy. It's to write things down that you do and that you plan on doing and keep it organized. Just with this calendar already, if I had done a bunch of applications, I would have a full calendar full of things that I have done to help me search for a job. And when I go on an interview and I open up my book and they see this full calendar, they're going to be impressed. They're going to think that I'm a big shot, because I am, and you are too. And this is one of the ways to show that. Does this make sense to everybody? So I know that searching for a job is a really, really, really big topic. It's a really big conversation. And there are a lot of places, there are a lot of ways that we could talk about it. But today I wanted to focus on some of the things that make it feel so overwhelming to do, because it can be overwhelming. And I hope that by talking about some of these strategies to organize your job search, you can see that it's really not that difficult. It's really not. Finding a job might be difficult, but organizing the job search and making sure that it is fun, anyone can do that. So again, and as a recap, organize your search, print out a calendar, write down what you are doing. If you apply for a job, write it on the calendar. Talk to people you know. Ask them, hey, do you know if anybody's hiring? Make sure that you are researching the types of jobs that you want, and make sure you're building your confidence by writing down what you're really good at. And last but not least, when you do apply, wait about a week to follow up and write that on your calendar too. So at this point, are there any questions?
Wes, it looks like Adam has his hand up. Adam, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
How many hours for restaurant?
How many hours for a restaurant? It really depends.
Yes.
Yeah, it depends on how many hours do you think you can work and be effective? Between 1
Me?
and 6, I'd say, is like a typical shift at a restaurant. Do you think you could work 6 hours?
Yes.
If you can work 6 hours and you want to work 6 hours, I think that that's a perfectly fine amount of time.
How much tip?
That's a much tougher question. It really depends on what restaurant you work at. Some restaurants, I worked at several when I was younger. Some restaurants you can expect to make a good amount of money in tips, and some it's less about how much money you make in tips, and the restaurant will give you a regular paycheck to like make up the difference. And it depends on how good you are. Um, Also, if you're not a server or a bartender, not every restaurant gives you a portion of the tips. Some do for busboys and things like that. Typically not for cooks though. Cooks typically don't get tips. They get regular wages. That help?
Good.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions? I saw a couple of people unmuted. Some companies give paychecks every Friday. Some do it every other week. And there are some companies that only give pay once a month. Some do it twice a month, some do it once a month, some do it every week. It really depends. And it's something that you would want to ask about when you are asking questions and when you're reading the job description. It's a great point. Okay. Well, if there aren't any questions, I want to thank everybody so much for having me. And know, again, if you are interested in having assistance in finding a job, there is a whole group of people who their whole job is helping you find a job. They're called job coaches. And if you do have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of the NJSAP staff, Ashley, Frankie, any of Aaron, any of them, and they'll connect you with excellent resources. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Wes. We really appreciate you presenting today. And for everybody who was part of today's conversation and webinar, thank you for being here. Frankie just shared some information in the chat about our upcoming sessions. So please check that out. We'd love to have you back. And again, thank you all for being here.
Thank you.